It starts as a whisper, the sound of the wind, building and building until it becomes a deafening roar, like a freight train that's jumped the tracks to tear the sky in two. In May of 2025, that sound became the anthem of a tragedy that scarred the American heartland. In just a few moments, homes, lives, and the security we all take for granted were simply ripped away. The media called it a tragedy. Meteorologists called it a severe weather anomaly. But what if it was something else? What if this catastrophe wasn't random at all? What if it was a sign, a final warning, written down nearly 2,000 years ago? The horrifying events we're seeing aren't just headlines. They're the unfolding of a divine pattern, a series of alarms growing louder and more frequent. Today, we're connecting the dots to reveal a truth the world might not be ready to hear. For those willing to look, the chaos of 2025 isn't chaos at all. It's a sequence. It's a message. For centuries, followers of Christ have studied the words he spoke on the Mount of Olives, recorded for us in Matthew chapter 24. His disciples asked him a direct question. Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? Jesus didn't give them a date. He gave them a pattern. He talked about deception, wars, and rumors of wars. And then he gave a sign that everyone on earth could understand. A sign written not in books, but across the sky and on the land itself. He said, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." The original Greek word for sorrows is odin, which means birth pains. Think about that. Birth pains don't just happen once. They start small, maybe a dull ache, far apart and easy to ignore. But as the time gets closer, they increase in two undeniable ways: frequency and intensity. They come faster and they hit harder until the child is finally born. Are we witnessing the birth pains of the end of the age right now? The evidence from 2025 is staggering. What we're seeing isn't just a string of unconnected disasters. We are seeing the contractions. We are seeing the beginning of sorrows, and they are accelerating at a rate that has left experts stunned and the faithful breathless. The pattern is undeniable, and it began with a roar in the dead of night. The night of May 16, 2025, is now burned into the memory of the Midwest. A colossal storm system gave birth to a swarm of destructive tornadoes that tore across multiple states. In Missouri, an EF3 tornado, the strongest to hit the St. Louis area in over a decade, turned homes into splinters and claimed lives in the darkness. But the system was just getting started. It gathered strength and unleashed its full fury on Kentucky. A violent, long-tracked EF4 tornado, a monster with winds approaching 200 miles per hour, descended on the towns of Somerset and London. A survivor in London, Kristen Mosley, described the scene as total devastation. I mean, trees ripped up, houses ripped apart. You can't really put it into words how tragic it is. Rescue crews searched frantically through neighborhoods that were simply gone. Where homes once stood, there was only ruin. In the end, this single outbreak claimed at least 27 lives in the tornadoes, with the total loss of life pushed to over 30. It was the deadliest tornado disaster to strike Kentucky in years. The media reported on wind shear and atmospheric instability, but they missed the real story. They missed the prophecy. In Luke 21, Jesus told his followers to watch for fearful events and great signs from heaven. In Matthew 24, he said there would be earthquakes in various places. Now some will say, but a tornado isn't an earthquake. That misses the point. The Greek word used is seismos, which means a great shaking or commotion. It's any event that shakes the foundations of our world and strikes fear into people's hearts. What is a tornado that rips the earth apart and sounds like a roaring train, if not a great and terrible shaking? These tornadoes were a seismos of the air, a violent upheaval serving as a sign of what's to come. It was the first agonizing birth pain of a season of sorrow. But the warnings of 2025 didn't wait for spring. The year had barely begun when the nation saw another sign, this time not of wind, but of fire. While the dead of winter should have brought quiet to California's wildlands, January 2025 saw the eruption of the Palisades and Eaton wildfires. These weren't small brush fires, they were devastating firestorms that burned with a shocking intensity for that time of year. Fueled by drought and fierce winds, the fires ripped through communities, consuming everything. The human cost was terrible, with at least 30 lives lost. But the financial cost was almost beyond belief. According to a report from the insurance giant Munich Re, the insured losses from these January wildfires alone topped an astronomical $40 billion, with total losses estimated at $53 billion. This staggering figure makes it the costliest wildfire event ever recorded and places it among the most expensive natural disasters in American history, on par with monster hurricanes. It was a financial cataclysm born from fire in a month that should have been cold and wet. It was another great shaking, another seismos, this time of flame. And once again, the words of Scripture echo through the smoke. In the book of Revelation, the Apostle John describes the judgments unleashed on the earth. Revelation 8 verse 7 depicts the first trumpet angel. And there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up. Are we seeing a terrifying foreshadowing of this judgment? A plague of fire, unprecedented in its cost and unseasonable in its timing, served as another powerful contraction, another birth pain, warning us of what is to come. First the fire, then the wind. The pattern was building. From fire and wind, the pattern turned to water. As spring bled into summer, the heavens opened, but they brought destruction, not life. Across the central and southern United States, a series of relentless storms and floods battered the nation. In June, severe storms, tornadoes, and floods swept across Kansas, leading to a major disaster declaration from the federal government. The ground was so saturated, it simply couldn't absorb any more water. Then, in July, the focus shifted to Texas, where floods devastated the central part of the state, killing over 135 people. In some places, a month's worth of rain fell in a single day. Rivers that are normally calm in the summer heat swelled into raging torrents, swallowing homes and turning farmland into murky lakes. Once more, we hear the echoes of Scripture. We're reminded of Noah's flood, the ultimate symbol of judgment. But we also see a specific prophecy in Revelation 16, where the third angel pours his bowl on the rivers and springs of water, and they became blood. Prophecy is often poetic, written in signs and symbols. Does the water have to literally turn to hemoglobin for the sign to be fulfilled? Or is it fulfilled when the very sources of life, the rivers and the rain, bring death and destruction instead? When the water meant to sustain us instead washes our world away, has it not, in effect, become as deadly as blood? The pattern is clear: fire, wind, and now flood. 3 distinct forms of judgment, 3 powerful birth pains striking the nation one after another. This is the heart of the matter. Any one of these events, by itself, could be dismissed as a tragedy or a statistical fluke. But together, they form a terrifying sequence, and when you look closer, you see the most critical part of the prophecy unfolding: the acceleration. The birth pains aren't just happening. They're getting stronger and closer together.
This book is your beginner's guide to understanding Scripture. Find peace, build relationships, and discover purpose in today's world. Ready to decode the Bible? Find Bible Decoded available on Amazon now.
If this content blesses you and you'd like to support our mission, you can buy me a coffee or give a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more content to inspire and uplift others. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos. The financial cost alone tells a story of unbelievable destruction. Insurance industry reports found that the first half of 2025 was the second costliest first half of a year ever for insured losses. The United States alone accounted for over $126 billion in economic losses by the midway point of the year. The only year that was worse was 2011, which saw the massive earthquake and tsunami in Japan. The sheer economic impact of these disasters is a birth pain in itself, an intensity that is off the charts. The frequency is also accelerating. By the time of the deadly outbreak in mid-May, more than 731 tornadoes had already been recorded across the United States, a figure far above the seasonal average. It wasn't just one bad day in May. It was an entire storm season that was abnormally violent and hyperactive. Step back and look at the pattern. A historic, multi-billion-dollar firestorm in January. A brutally active tornado season from March through May, culminating in a deadly multi-state outbreak. Catastrophic, record-setting floods in the early summer. This is the very definition of birth pains. These are not the distant, far-apart aches of a far-off event. These are the powerful, close-together contractions that signal the time is near. The earth itself is groaning, just as the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans 8. It is groaning under the weight of sin and in anticipation of the end of this age. The question is no longer if the prophecies are coming true. The question is, are you paying attention? So why is this happening? Is God just bringing fear and destruction? No. His judgment is always tempered with mercy. This isn't just punishment, it's a warning. It is a global alarm clock designed to awaken a slumbering world and a sleeping church. Every tornado, every fire, every flood is an act of mercy, a desperate call from a loving father to his children, urging them to come home before it's too late. For those who don't believe, these events are a terrifying sign of chaos. For the believer, they should be a confirmation of the timeline. This is not a time for fear. It is a time for faith. Jesus himself told us how to react to these signs. In Luke 21, after describing these exact events, the shakings, the signs from heaven, the distress of nations, he gives this incredible command. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. The world looks down at the chaos and despairs. We are called to look up, because we know these aren't death rattles, they are birth pains, We aren't witnessing the end of everything, but the end of the age of sin and the beginning of eternity with our King. The signs are everywhere, but so many are still spiritually asleep. They see the headline, but they miss the prophetic warning behind it. As watchmen on the wall, it's our job to sound the alarm and explain what these events really mean. Please don't keep this to yourself. Share this video with your friends and family. You might be the only warning they get. Help us wake them up before the final trumpet sounds. The pattern of 2025 is written in fire, wind, and water. A historic firestorm that defied the seasons. A tornado outbreak of shocking ferocity that shook the heartland. Devastating floods that turned rivers of life into agents of destruction. Each event was a catastrophe, and together they are an undeniable fulfillment of the pattern Jesus Christ laid out 2,000 years ago. This is not a coincidence. This is not a theory. This is biblical prophecy unfolding in our headlines. The birth pains are getting more intense. The time is short. We cannot be like the people in Noah's day who were eating, drinking, and living their lives completely oblivious to the coming judgment until the flood swept them all away. We must be awake. We must be alert. We must be ready. If you can see the signs of the times and you feel the urgency of this message, subscribe to this channel and ring the notification bell. We are a community of watchmen, dedicated to tracking these prophetic signs and encouraging one another. We will not be caught sleeping. Watch and be ready. The King is coming.
Feeling anxious or disconnected? Ready for a deeper faith journey designed just for you? Discover Bible Study for Black Women. This guide nurtures faith, strength, and growth week by week. Overcome fear and connect with God. This empowering journey is waiting. Find Bible Study for Black Women on Amazon today and start building unshakable faith.
If this content blesses you and you'd like to support our mission, you can buy me a coffee or give a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more content to inspire and uplift others. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos.